For ages you have come and gone, courting this delusion. For ages you have run from the pain and forfeited the ecstasy. So come, return to the root of your own soul. Although you appear in earthly form, your essence is pure consciousness. You are the fearless guardian of divine light. So come, return to the root of your own soul. When you lose all sense of self, the bonds of 1,000 chains will vanish. Lose yourself completely. Return to the root of your own soul. You descended from Adam by the pure word of God, but you turned your sight to the empty show of this world. Alas, how can you be satisfied with so little? So come, return to the root of your own soul. Why are you so enchanted by this world, when a mine of gold lies within you? Open your eyes and come. Return to the root of your own soul. You were born from the rays of God's majesty when the stars were in their perfect place. How long will you suffer from the blows of a non-existent hand? So come, return to the root of your own soul. You are a ruby encased in granite. How long will you deceive us with this outer show? Oh friend, we can see the truth in your eyes. So come, return to the root of your own soul. After one moment with that glorious friend, you became loving, radiant, and ecstatic. Your eyes were sweet and full of fire. Come, return to the root of your own soul. Shams-e Tabriz, the king of the tavern, has handed you an eternal cup, and God in all his glory is pouring the wine. So come, drink, return to the root of your own soul. Soul of all souls, life of all life, you are that. Seen and unseen, moving and unmoving, you are that. The road that leads to the city is endless. Go without head and feet and you'll already be there. What else could you be? You are that. One of the reasons why I love this poem so much is because it encapsulates so many of Rumi's spiritual messages. From running from our pain to living a delusional life. From losing yourself to chasing the pleasures of this world. From arriving from a noble origin to finally returning back to our source and spending all of eternity with that glorious friend. If you're a fan of Rumi and or a subscriber of this channel, then you probably already recognize many of these familiar messages sprinkled throughout the poem. And if you aren't yet, then please make sure to subscribe to the channel to get more inspirational and spiritual poems such as this one that can help you awaken. But now, let's see if we can focus on some of those messages and discuss how they may apply to us in our current life. Rumi starts this poem beautifully by bringing our attention to this delusion. What is the delusion he is referring to? None other than the delusion of thinking we are our ego, which manifests itself as our thoughts, opinions, and beliefs. This false sense of self that we call the I or me is nothing but a lie. It's a story that we have created, but it does not point to our actual truth. And from this delusion, so much pain and suffering has arisen. If we were bullied in school, for example, we might think that someone is attacking us, unaware that our soul or essence can never be attacked. If we are diagnosed with a terrible condition, we might think that God or the universe is punishing us and deteriorating our body, not knowing that we are not the body. You see, this delusion shows up in our life in countless ways. But no matter how it does, we take things so personally and victimize ourselves to the point that we feel sad, anxious, or hopeless. Too often do we lose hope and believe that nothing can be done, but there is a simple solution to all this pain and suffering. Don't run away from it, for starters. Don't see it for more than what it actually is. A cage, a shell that you have to break through in order for your real self to emerge. Because the more you run away from your pain, the more you will suffer and forfeit the ecstasy of knowing that you are the beautiful soul hidden beneath this shell. So don't run away from your pain any longer. Confront it and silence your mind so that the awareness of the moment may help you see that you are not this body or mind that withers and dies. You are pure consciousness. So come, Rumi says, and return to the root of the soul. Even if you have been away from it your whole life, come now. It is never too late. And don't think that you are not worthy of this peace, this joy, or this love. No matter what you have done in your past, you are not your ego. You are not a story with good or bad sections. You simply are that. And if you remember that inside you, there is nothing but divine light, you will no longer be afraid in stepping forward and stepping out of your ego. It all starts with dissociating ourselves from this false or illusionary self. When you lose this self, then you can finally be free. The bonds of 1,000 or even 1,000,000 chains will simply vanish. Because who created these bonds but ourselves, but our egos? We are the ones that always put pressure on ourselves, that always tries to meet other people's expectations, that always doubts or questions our own innate greatness. We are the ones that put these bonds, not anyone else. The ego may try to deflect the attention away from itself by blaming others, by blaming God, by blaming the universe. But there is no blame needed here. There is no right or wrong, no duality. There simply is your soul that is desperately crying out to you in a million ways to finally return home. So how much longer will you ignore it? You come from the noble line of humans, whom God has raised above all plants and animals and created you in his own spirit and image. In one instance, you were nothing, and in the other, you became the entire universe. There is a reason the soul is silent, hidden, and invisible. And that reason is because you have to search and find it amidst all the distractions and pleasures of this world. It's as if God gave you a treasure chest, but made you live an entire life to find the key. The beautiful part, though, is that this key has always been here, inside us. What we want above all else has always been with us, and yet we turn our sight to the empty show of this world. How can you be so happy with so little? Rumi's teacher Attar, who was an incredible mystic and poet himself, said it beautifully when he wrote, "Chun ba darya mi tawani ra yaft, soy yak shabnam chora bayad shitaft." Which means, if you can find your way to the ocean, why rush toward a drop of dew? If you can find your way to your soul, to God, why settle for this shadow and this illusion called the world? Return to the root of your own soul. How long will you suffer from the blows of a non-existent hand? This invisible hand is the ego that torments you day and night so that one day you may wake up and say, enough is enough. You know, we think that the ego is bad, and I'll admit I often talk so much about it that it seems as if I'm villainizing it. But the ego is not a villain. It has a very useful purpose, and that is to help you return to your soul. Because it's in our nature to appreciate the value or meaning of something once we experience its opposite. If we're freezing in winter, we appreciate more the warm summer heat. If we're experiencing a cold or a flu, then we appreciate the days that we feel healthy. There is a yin and yang that dance together throughout life. But none of these things are good or bad. Good and bad are just dualities we have created that prevent us from seeing the oneness everywhere. You can even imagine the soul not being as beautiful if there was not an ego or force that tried to pull us away from it. We need to suffer. We need to be asleep to know what it means to be awake. And above all, we need to be separated from our source, from God, to realize the importance of reuniting with Him. Indeed, that is the crux of Rumi's entire life work and spiritual teachings, that we were put on this earth to appreciate and return to our true home. So how much longer will you deceive this world with this outer show of body that you identify with a name? Those who have already lost their sense of self can see through this mask that you are wearing. They already know your true identity, and now it's time for you to do the same. If you spend just one moment in deep connection with God, that glorious friend, you will see the truth and become loving, radiant, and ecstatic. And if you make an effort to spend more and more of your life in company with Him, then your cup will always be full and you will be drinking the greatest of bliss. Otherwise, you will just keep on crawling by in life, hopelessly searching for an end to your suffering, hopelessly searching for some sort of salvation or small measure of peace. But as Rumi beautifully ends this poem, the road that leads to the city or the presence of God is endless. If you try to travel toward it by foot or by mind, you will never reach there. But if you give up your mind, give up your ego, then you will be there in a heartbeat. So I hope this poem and interpretation gives you that energy and encouragement to return to your soul. Don't be satisfied with this ordinary and ego-driven life you have been living. Drop everything and return back to your soul. Because I promise you, you will not be the same person again. You will be something and someone far greater and more beautiful than even you can imagine. So what are you waiting for? Just go and enter the city, because a very special and dear friend has been waiting for you there all this time.